did some reflecting on their origins and realized, hey, we've got a lot more in common than we think. And then what our studies and stuff tell about each other, things like that. So I'm trying to make a story with different symbols of architecture and stuff. Like, you see a lot of skyscrapers and things nowadays. A lot of those really nice places like Dubai and stuff, they have a darker side to them. They have these awesome infrastructures, but they're taking and draining resources and stuff from the desert, and it's not as pretty as it actually seems. Yes, you've got Lamborghinis and Ferraris all about the entire area, but
you got water companies disenfranchising people.
Exactly. It's literally just a bigger Las Vegas where it's all about making money. You have to have a certain amount of money to be there. It's not something where they're not planting a bunch of trees and stuff to have it be sustainable, and have it where instead of it being a tourist attraction, it's not where people can just live of all types of life. Things like that. I'm trying to show the excess of everything and say, hey, it's okay to be excessive at times, but there are seasons for everything. It's okay to do things in moderation. There are times when you need to be frugal, but there are also times when you can be excessive and extravagant. I feel like nowadays we're in the place where everybody's opinion matters, which it does, but at the same time, I don't want to hear about math from someone who hasn't studied math or isn't proficient in that subject. We've got a lot of confidently incorrect people.
Oh, wow. That's perfect. That's a great phrase. That's a phrase for the ages right there.
And that's
confidently incorrect. Yes, I love that.
That's coming from myself. That's
shit.
coming from
That's
myself. My Instagram, if you see it, it's like, who the hell is this guy? Like, he's so hypocritical, but that's everybody. It's kind of okay to be sometimes hypocritical sometimes when you own up to it and you're knowing that you're trying to change that. Everybody does not do that nowadays.
So let me pause that. I think the difference, one of the things though, when you talk about it's okay to be hypocritical, what you're really speaking about is actually the journey of integrity. And so the journey of being integrous is that what you do and what you say are in alignment.
Yeah.
And where I think sometimes the social constructs fail us is that if I'm a bank robber and I tell you that I'm going to rob a bank, I operate with integrity. You know what I'm saying? And so we put certain definitions and cages on things that are much, much broader, but they actually would liberate us if we didn't put those on there. So to your point, the integrity is what you're talking about, the alignment. And so it looks like hypocrisy, but what you're saying is I have enough integrity to understand that my words and my deeds may not be completely in alignment right now, and I'm working to correct that.
Yeah, exactly. So. And that's, a lot of people don't give that. Nowadays, I've noticed with the whole social media and just how easy it is to peer into people's lives, people don't give other people that chance to show the integrity that they have. People make one mistake and they're kind of latched on to that mistake and stuff. Like, prison is supposed to be for rehabilitating criminals, but what happens when they go to prison? They almost always get worse. It almost doesn't actually help out. So, like, what I want to do is to tell the story of things like that. How someone from prison who is trying to definitely change the ways and the mistakes and things that they've done in the past, but doesn't get that chance because they've been told, hey, you went to prison and stuff. It's going to be in a sci-fi or fantasy setting, but it's going to still touch on that topic of being basically branded with a mistake that you've made in the past that you can't necessarily run from, no matter what you do. Things like that are going to be something that I'm going to be trying to touch on, and the process of, like, the subject of empathy is going to be something that's going to be very prevalent in my stories, of not thinking so much about yourself and thinking about how your decisions affect the other people. And that comes from a place of someone who's in power imposing their will on somebody, and someone who's not in power but also trying to get the other person to understand themselves. I think empathy is something that just everybody in this world needs to have some more practice in. The golden rule needs to be taught more in school. Treat others how you want to be treated. People just treat other people how they get treated. It's a lot less turning the cheek and a lot more slapping the shit out of other people when they get slapped and stuff. Which is that's okay. If you don't let people bum rush you and stuff, but at the same time, try to come to an understanding before you do make that mistake and stuff that ends up just spiraling your life out of control and gets you to the place where people don't want to say, hey, that person's learned from his mistake. Because there are some decisions that you can't come back from.
Mm-hmm. You can't undo.
You can't undo them. You can't. Everybody does have that decision. Everybody has that choice, that split second before they make a choice. You have that split second before you're rushing out of the house and say, crap, I need to put my laundry in the washing machine into the dryer. It's going to start smelling like it's spoiled milk and stuff like that for the rest of the day. But no, you didn't stop to do that. You didn't stop to take that 10 seconds to wash out your laundry. Now the laundry room's going to smell like spoiled water and stuff like that for a good while. It's gonna air out. It's gonna clean, but people need to stop and take the conscious decision and stuff like that before the next step they take. And that's going to be very prevalent. A lot of things that are going to be happening in my story, it's going to be a lot of kind of narration where the character is thinking like, man, like that split second decision. Split second in your mind is a lot longer than you think it is.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I don't think about. Like, it's like, wow, 1, 2, 3 seconds and stuff. Like,
wow.
This book is entirely about that concept. It's the micro decisions that we make that compound through time that give us all the results that we're experiencing.
Yeah, and it's the truth.
And it's any direction you want to go with it, right? The positive, the negative,
whatever.
Right.
It's the truth. I see a lot of people who are kind of.
I'm going to re-up. Yeah, do your thing.
Yeah,
okay.
kind of.
Right. I'm gonna do a truly up because you did a good job. Now, unless you want to come, say,
I'm just gonna go grab 3 of them.
Okay, so you do that. Okay, all right, we keep this going. All right, cool. All right.
I noticed a lot of people in 2020 and with Instagram, they fetishize being broken.
Wow. I believe that. Just a powerful statement.
They get off on
it's like brokenness is their porn.
Yes,
yeah.
Like I saw it on.
So now I don't disagree with you because I think that that's very powerful. I wouldn't even isolate it to a one medium, but I'm intrigued about that thought.
What I mean by that was yesterday on Reddit and stuff. People do not like to listen. They will read something, see the words that you're saying, but won't actually take the time to listen to what you're actually saying. Joe Dispenza has been talking about how you can change your neural pathways and stuff like that. You can change the way you think, and that will literally affect your outcomes.
Absolutely.
I saw something on Reddit about someone who literally.
Are you trying to impose yourself upon me?
Just.
I'm gonna stay home.
Lemonade.
Yeah.
Iced tea.
Yeah. See, look at that. The power. The false thought of choice.
Well, there's something special here, right? Truth is
I
what's
agree.
being discussed.
That's
Truly.
absolutely. To truth,
Truly. Absolutely.
To truth.
This is good, brother. This is good.
So we're figuring out, right? Because like right now, here's our video action.
Okay, I'm see
We've got a GoPro. We just got this one yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Could change up our angles since we're not using any mics.
Yeah.
But like, dude, this is exactly what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
It's like, just put this on your channel, dude.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
exactly
Real
Gotta be
life.
that.
Like, there's basketball
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah,
People
life-
having fun.
exactly.
Like, it's just peering in because that's what you're describing is straight from the heart.
Yeah.
Right? And it's living with empathy, which means living through somebody else's lens, not just your own.
Yeah. And that's exactly, this is kind of what me and my friend, this is what me and my friend do. Me and my homie and stuff like that, we'll be sitting in my backyard and we'll just be chatting. But to continue on with the...
Yeah, so I think the idea you mentioned that was really powerful when you said the fetishization of trauma.
Yes.
Essentially,
Whoa.
as you said, yeah.
People do not like... This is coming from someone myself. So I like to be... It's hard to literally get myself out of a funk. When I'm pissed off and mad and cranky, I want to stay cranky and pissed off. I sometimes... It sometimes takes me lashing out at somebody that I'm close to for me to actually be like, whoa, that's not okay. A lot of people nowadays, I notice, yes, there are sometimes some people chemically, there is something wrong with their brain. Sometimes they legitimately cannot help it. But there are some people where just because of their environment, they can change things and stuff. They can make that split decision to be like, I'm not going to let this get to me, but they let it get to them. I was reading something on Reddit about how this one user was someone was talking about how you can literally change your neural pathways by exercising, eating healthier, doing better things to take care of yourself and stuff. And everybody was attacking him. Everybody is kind of coddled nowadays to where they're like, just feel sad and stuff like that, and mellow and just be mopey and stuff, which is sometimes, some days that's okay. But how long are you going to sit and stay like that to where you don't get anything done? A lot of people don't want to change to think positively. They don't want to do that because it's hard. Like, it is hard. It's hard, but it's also not, because the more you're thinking positively and stuff like that, it really does affect your actions. Like, if you're thinking in a positive light, you're not going to want to go negative and affect other people and want to make their day shittier. Like,
so let me speak to that, because I think there's a lot in what you're saying, and I think that one of the thoughts that immediately came was, you have people, it's like a child helping a child. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can only help you to the magnitude of my own experience. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody comes that's on a different vibration than me, and so I'm vibrating a higher level of a different frequency, and I'm saying you can elevate beyond your circumstance, I'm pissed off at you because my affirmations have come from people who have been in my circumstance.
yeah.
And so they're reaffirming my brokenness, and they're not giving me a real means that's connected, like I feel a connection to actually elevate beyond that. And so I think that, honestly, the power of this conversation really speaks to what we're dealing with as a country, in the sense of, I have not humanized you enough to accept you for where you are,
Yeah.
and to give your experience legitimacy, because my vibration is different than yours in this moment. And so I think that when you're talking about people who like attack people who want to give people a path to a different outcome, what that means is that they're not necessarily prepared for that moment right now. And so with that, what you have to do, and what I would do if it were me, would be that, okay, what has worked for me personally is getting to the root of why I feel the way I feel. You know what I'm saying? Getting down to the grassroots of what it is. And so to your point, it's really communication.
Yeah.
And so I think about my relationship with my wife, right? It's like one of the blessings that she's offered to me is the power of communication. It's something I didn't have in my previous marriages. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I've been quiet because it served me to be quiet. You know, and so we do what serves us. And so it's like, what serves you does not necessarily mean that it's the best thing for you. Exactly. It's crazy as that sounds. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
on an emotional level.
Exactly, on a very emotional level, right. On a practical level, you're right. So practicality does not have to meet emotion at the same place. You know what I mean? And so even though and so that's how people can say, I know. I was talking to Ian. Yeah. And he asked what I do. And I started with, I help people secure their financial foundation. He paused me. And he was like, stop. Right. Hold on. What? And so what happened was he was like, okay, are you talking about Americans? Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, she doing her thing. It was like, you beating a 10-year-old. All right, you win it. You win it. All right, that's cool. All right, I ain't gonna steal your shine. Right, yeah. Straight. Right, you straight up.
We can drop the hoop to 7 feet too.
You straight Matumboing on it. Right, you Matumboing on a 10-year-old. This guy is like, it's cool. You can Matumbo a 10-year-old, man. That's cool. But he had the response, and I said, you know, I hear you. I hear you, but ultimately, you have to always operate in the truth of who you are, because the people who are ready to receive that are ready to receive that.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Just like you were saying, vibration.
Yeah, exactly. So the people who are not, they're not. But the way to help the people who are not is to help them to go to the depths of what it is that's traumatizing them. Yeah. So that they can actually resolve that. You know, and so 100%. I've had those moments, you know, and everybody's had those moments, if we're honest. Yeah. To where I even with my wife, she's amazing at reconciliation. She's amazing at it. To the point to where I think my process actually helps her process, because although you're quick to reconciliation, me kind of being slow to the resolve helps you make sure that you're truly at reconciliation. You know what I'm saying? Right, as opposed to being a subterfuge for like, let's get past this bullshit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And now she's not that person, but I was slow to receive that because of past experiences. You know what I'm saying? So if you have past traumas, that there's so many dynamics that seem to be at work in us. You know what I'm saying? Like the dynamics of familiarity, the dynamics of like pain being familiar. So I resonate more with pain, to your point, than with resolution. You know what I'm saying? Or that I don't take instruction well because actually my pain point is receiving instruction from somebody that I despise or I don't have respect for. You know what I'm saying? And so I reject authority, not because it's incorrect, but I reject it because of my experience with it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where ultimately we have to get down to the point of really self-reflection and getting to the root of our issues and being open to having people in our lives, professionally or otherwise, that will help us resolve that, you know, help us really get to the granular levels. Because, I mean, whether it's, you know, a person who serves people on a large scale or somebody's doing it in a community, everything has to happen on a one-to-one level.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? There's nothing else that will resolve it but that, you know, so. Anyway.
When people say, you know, they're on a podcast or something, and they're like, hey, listeners, no. Yeah. There's only one person that ever hears you at a time, even if you're speaking to a million at a time.
Yeah. I agree.
It's always about the person individually. Yeah. It's so powerful. The way that we perceive our own experience. I'll speak in I statements. I find that to be more powerful, because when I've gone through deep, dark times, right? And I notice, what am I clinging to? What am I holding on to that is like my life preserver? The Titanic's broken. Right.
This is what I can count on, right? I feel like I can count on this.
I've got a door that I'm using.
Exactly. The door that I'm floating on, it's like, okay, I'm freezing. Like, what's going on? How am I actually going to navigate out of this? Well, truth be told, if you're on the Titanic and you're in the middle of, you know, the Atlantic or wherever it was, and you're holding on to a life preserver, you ought to just let go of, like, how am I going to solve this?
Yeah. Right.
It's not actually going to happen.
Individual situation.
I can't, like, swim, 3,000 miles.
In the freaking Arctic and stuff, like, in the cold. You just hit an iceberg. Like, you have to, like, think of, you kind of have to sometimes let it go. Like,
let go of the attachment to the outcome,
mm-hmm.
right? Once I become at peace knowing, okay, I could drown right now.
Yeah.
Well, then every breath is a gift.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
That's where you conserve. That's where you start to conserve. That's why whenever I'm talking to my friends who have gone through trauma and stuff like that, I try to tell them, well, here's what I've gone through. People don't like being taught things. Like, when you're trying to, depending on the type of relationship you have with somebody, if you're trying to help somebody, they don't appreciate it when you're trying to teach them or lecture them. It's always something where it's like, hey, I know you're going through this and stuff, but this is what's helped me in the past when in the situation that you're going through. People like it when you share that connection with them. People don't want to just listen to you when you're saying, well, try to do these deep breaths and stuff like that. Like, breathe deep breaths.
What?
Like, I can barely.
Exactly. I can't breathe. I'm having a chest conversation right now. I'm telling you, dude, my breath is short.
And that's where
you like your vibrations off.
No, right? Like, it's easy.
Vibrations. Right? Like, I'm not a metal tom. Like, what are you talking about? That's why you gotta say like, hey, if you can, just take 20 deep breaths and stuff like that. And just reconnect yourself. Think about what it is exactly that is messing with you right now, and just pace yourself back. It's hard right now, but it will get easier and stuff. I know this is something that I don't even do it every day, but just try it. Just for not for me, just for yourself. People are a lot more receptive to when you give them the power to change and stuff like that, as opposed to saying, hey, do this and stuff. Do this, but give them a reason why. Especially when you're also saying, we may not be going through the same experience, but this is sort of what I have done in this situation and stuff that you're dealing with.
And to your point too about, respecting the source. If you've actually been through something emotionally that feels the same, even if your situation is dramatically different, you can actually identify. But if you haven't, they might be down here and you're like, oh, it's not that bad, like just get over it. You're not actually being empathetic.
You're not.
Exactly.
You got to make sure that you're also actually listening to what they're saying and actually what they're going through, because there are some people where the things that they are going through, I have never personally felt that. I've never personally been up until 4 o'clock in the morning because my brain is literally saying not to go to sleep. So
you haven't?
Not necessarily. No. It's been a couple of times. It's been.
That's funny. Oh, so clearly you had that experience.
It depends. It depends on what I'm going through. If I'm drinking a bit too much coffee and stuff like that because I'm trying to stay.
Physical response.
Yeah, then that's usually when it is. But usually my ass will go to sleep when it needs to. Like, my body will listen to it. But some people, their body doesn't do that, and so that's when I'm like, I don't know what you're going through, but here's what has helped me in the past in similar situations and stuff. People don't like it when you're trying to say, hey, I've gone through that as well. That's something that I've noticed as well too. Yeah. Like, I went to a bunch of different schools, so I have experienced a bunch of different things and gone through a bunch of different type of scenarios. I went to 2 private schools, then public school, but not a lot of people want to hear about my experience and stuff like that because of the experience, because it's relevant.
So how has that affected you? Because I think it's important. I have 2 cousins. One went to Jesuit, one went to Hockaday, and their mother just passed away. She was a cousin of mine, so they're my second cousins, and we grew up as like first cousins. And their mom did everything as a single parent to put them in a position to achieve what she considers success. And they've been successful in their own rights, because I think that's a very personal journey, right? Amen. But to that point, a lot of the things that they've dealt with, a lot of people won't deal with. You know what I'm saying? As people of color, because of the numbers. You know, so I'm really curious to understand. Because and then I'm former military, so I went to West Point. I went to military, and I got to experience how people like operate out in the culture, right?
Yeah.
And I know that there are people who are going like military kids become very resilient because they understand how to navigate different circumstances. They almost become like almost disingenuous, if that's a word. Like they're not genuine. Because I'm not saying that they're not genuine as people, but like they have
adaptable.
They have a coat, shapeshifters.
Right.
They're cuttlefish, exactly.
Yes.
And so like they give you the warm and fuzzy because that's what you need. And they're just giving you what you need. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's not necessarily serving them. Yeah. It's serving them from the sense of you're not questioning them or you're not like seeing them as an outsider.
It's very pragmatic.
Yeah, exactly. It's very to
like,
a point.
Let me not act like myself to not piss you off. Because I know sometimes.
Right. And so as a black man, I want to ask you very, very candidly and specifically, with the variance of your experiences, what do you feel has been left on the table as a human because of those experiences to get along and go along? And then what have you gained as a result of those experiences?
Well, definitely. So the first private school I went to was a little unorthodox. It was more like it was basically just a public school where you wore uniforms.
That sounds like a charter school.
Yeah, it was
exactly like a charter school.
It was cool, but then going to a different private school, Prestonwood Christian Academy, that was a culture shock. I was like one of the few black people there. I had to do a lot of code switching. That was where I was.
Code switching?
It's where you're.
Oh, wow.
Man. It's code switching.
Hold on.
It's where
Let me tell you why this is so powerful. Because you're married to a black woman.
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's anybody who has to code switch more or chooses to code switch more than anybody in America,
it's black women.
It's the black female.
Yes.
I believe that.
Yeah, to adjust to every nuance of men, no matter what their culture or color is, to women of various cultures, and then just being a woman in a, you know what I'm saying, in a culture that hails maleness.
Right.
And so my wife by trade is she's a recruiter, and so she's recruited IT, all different, and it's the same thing. And to the point where I, as a man, I feel is very receptive, I was operating with her at a point to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was telling her, there were moments where all I really could give her was empathy, but I was trying to give her solutions. You know what I'm saying?
Virgo.
We're men, right? Yeah, true. You know what I'm saying? And she's an Aries, so I'm like, okay, yeah, you flighty motherfucker. I'm gonna help you. You know what I'm saying?
You just need a clear course.
Right, you're right. You just need some direction. I mean, your life. You know what I'm saying? But with all that being said, it's like you deal with these things, and it's like you develop an empathy from the standpoint of that there are things to which you cannot relate. I mean, like there's things you can relate to, but you can't relate as strongly as others. And so it's like the code switching is a big deal because you feel like you have to be different things to different people, which what does that do to your sense of self? You know what I'm saying? If you're eradicating yourself every day to get along and go along and it's not true. Like Tashara Parker on WFAA, you know, I love what she's doing with the Rooted, and like she does this thing about black hair and all this stuff because a lot of times the conversation about black hair in the corporate workspace, either what's acceptable to come to work with, or the fact that people want to treat you like a zoo animal and want to touch your hair, like you know what I'm saying, like this that thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so Jennifer, to her credit, actually yesterday we saw a guy. So what we did last night, the kids had a birthday party and they was doing a sleepover over our friend's house, and so we had the night to ourselves. And so I was like, hey, let's just get a hotel room. You know what I'm saying? Hey, fuck it, let's do it. And so we got a hotel room to be actually close to you guys, and then we still made it late. But that's what hotels rooms do, right? And so nevertheless, though, we were talking about. Damn, I lost my thought. I lost my whole train of thought.
You were talking about, is it coat or code?
Code, like you're coding.
It's basically like at private school, for example, I would talk a lot more proper to try and keep up the facade of not sounding ignorant and stuff like that, even though if I were to talk... Perfect example. I once talked around my cousins the same way that I talk around my white friends, and they ripped into me. I'm like, "What's up, dudes?" Mm-hmm. They're like, "What's up, dudes?"
Right, you're a white boy.
Yeah, and I'm like, "What the hell?" Like it's something that to this day still bothers me. When people mock me and stuff like that for the way I speak, I'm like, I'm about to hit you, because I'm like, just because I talk proper does not mean that my black experience is lesser than yours.
Absolutely. Just
because I talk like this and stuff like that does not mean that my experience and stuff is less than yours or anything like that. Like the way someone talks is not. It's not the basis for their intellect. If I say y'all, I mean you all. Like, just because I talk black, which is stupid, by the way, talking white or talking black is not the basis for someone's intelligence. And that's something that's being taught nowadays, where even back in the school, I was like, you talk white. And I'm like, no, motherfucker, I talk proper.
Right.
And just because I don't talk white, I just talk proper. And that's not, talking intelligently is not a white thing, it's not a black thing, it's just something that people can do. I like to read. I read a lot of books, so I have a big vocabulary.
Absolutely.
If that bothers you, then go read
Level
a book.
up, motherfucker.
Read a deck. Exactly.
Let's keep it 100.
But now you're saying, hey, if their vibration's here and their vocabulary expands this far and you're operating up here, then it's a reflection that maybe that person doesn't know as much, right? Like, I actually love when people use new words, because I'll just ask, like, even if it's common words, it's just like, what does that mean? Like, I just ask again right there, code or coat? Like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because wearing a coat, I can see that metaphor. Code of conduct, how we operate, right? The way we code, we program. And we're programmed in our mind, right? All of these questions, because all thinking is asking and answering questions.
Absolutely.
But it's of ourselves instead of in conversation, right? So why not just open up the dialogue?
Exactly,
right?
and just asking. And it's like, I'm not trying to... I don't think I'm better than you because I read a lot of books. You might be better at math than I am and stuff. So I had to learn
Unique ability,
that.
genius.
Yeah.
But I think that the thing that you're speaking to, and so that's what resonated with the conversation with my cousins, is that when you find rejection from both sides, you know what I'm saying? So you find rejection from the side that your parents are aspiring to, you know what I'm saying? Which is a concept of this is being the right way. And then you're getting rejected from the side that's the root, which is saying, well, this is not my way. Yeah. So it's the less right way.
This is the way we do it.
What's the way I know it? And so you talk about the traditions of men rendering progress ineffective. And so now it's like, okay, I'm trapped in between these two, because I'm also a young person who's trying to create a foundation for my life, and I have no basis in which to root it. You know what I'm saying? I have no basis in my community, and I have no basis in the community to which I'm moving every day, and so I feel lost. And that's where you create. So I'm a board member of a nonprofit called National Youth Week. It's actually Outreach Ministries International, but our focus is National Youth Week, where we talk about conflict and anger resolution, and we talk about suicide prevention, because a lot of that is a big byproduct of what people deal with. And so it's like, if you're in that vein. If you're in that vein of where you're trying to find your vibration, you know what I'm saying? And you're not vibrating with the people who look like you, and you're not vibrating with the people who are in the environment in which you find yourself, then where do you go? You know what I mean? And so the lostness becomes, like you say, a parent says, we'll toughen up, you know what I'm saying? It's just, hey, my parents had to blah, 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 blah,
That's
blah.
terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible, but that is honestly the byproduct of, in my mind, the slave experience. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're dealing with anomalies and things that you had nothing to do with, but that's the best way that people know how to handle you. Right. And so you're dealing with all these things that have very little to do with you personally, but they're imposed upon you, and that can create a level of pressure.
Yeah, it's an archetype.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
and so but the weight of that house is so strong to where people, they just choose the exit button and they commit suicide. I mean, so you talk about suicide prevention, but you got to get to the root of why people find themselves in certain situations. And that's what extinguishes the creativity and the life force of these young people, is because people are trying to find a way to fucking swim down the stream, and the stream is suffocating me at the same fucking time. that's hard.
Yeah.
And I can't even relate to the level that you are.
Yeah.
But I know that that's a real thing.
It was a challenge, definitely, until I got to public school, where there was such a mixture of everybody that I kind of am like, okay, I can kind of be myself a little bit here. Even when I was sitting with all of my black friends and stuff like that at lunch, I didn't have to hide the way I talked.
There was a level of acceptance.
Yeah, I didn't have to.
We want to be accepted.
I could openly talk about the fact that I was watching Naruto and stuff like that, instead of back at Prestonwood, where I had to pretend I like football, even though I could beat all those motherfuckers up.
Exactly.
But being in football doesn't mean that you're strong and stuff like that. It doesn't mean that you're a man and stuff. Who gives a shit about you winning state? Like, who cares? Like, what are you going to...
Well, and look at the brain studies. Like, Dr. Daniel Amen has done over 127,000, fMRIs, the functional brain scans, and it's terrible. Like, it's okay. You're gonna take your skull. I mean, I played soccer, right? We played soccer.
Yeah,
and the
concussions are huge.
Totally.
Yeah,
and it was like the best goals in the world when you actually get a header goal.
But I had a header I didn't do in college. I'm mad I didn't do it, man. Oh, come on. I just got my hair cut. I was like, I don't want to mess my hair up, man. That's fucked up.
That's why I keep it this clean.
I feel you, bro. That's crazy. That's real. That's real.
And like in football, like where you're bashing your head against and stuff like each other, like I just didn't want to do that. Like,
so, okay, but to your point, right? What I'm really curious about is, I believe we all have a signature frequency, right? That's who we are. That's at a soul level, and so that's infinite. It's expansive. Resonates literally from our heart. It pulses all throughout our whole body. And it expands. Right now, we actually have tools that can measure our energetic fields. Right, one tends to be about 1.5 to 2 feet out, and the other one can extend anywhere from like 8 feet to. I mean, I feel like at Tony Robbins events, I've literally felt like a couple 100 feet away.
Wow.
Like there's such a powerful because you're out of your intellectual, your small mind, your physical mind, and you're actually just connected to source. You're connected to spirit. Right.
Everybody.
Yeah, life force, the thing that permeates. I mean, if we think we know it all, but our tools are sensitive enough to tell us everything, like, how arrogant is that?
On you.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but we all are the center of our own universe because we're the observer of our own experiences.
For sure.
And that's kind of why I got into creating, because it's like, there's just not really a limit to the things that we can do or think up of. Like, Frank Herbert thought of sandworms and stuff like that created spice that gives you visions of the future and stuff. Like, who thinks of stuff like that? J.R.R. Tolkien and stuff, like, literally did the Exodus story, but with elves. You know what I mean? Like, it's in there. We can basically do anything we want. If it's a good choice or a bad choice, it's up to us and how we perceive, what we're doing with that energy is very important as well. And stuff. I feel like we gotta make sure we're not doing it to impose our will on others in a negative way.
Right, that's a critical distinction, because what you're describing is exactly that, imposing your will, and your will feels pure to me. So I actually resonate with it deeply. It feels incredible. That. Of course.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. So, something where, mistakes I've made in the past where it's like, man, am I a good person? But I am consistently told by people, yeah, Corion, I appreciate who you are in my life. So it's time to start believing in that self-confidence and stuff like that. And
what if the sentence stopped right there and it was just, I appreciate who you are?
I get that. I love hearing that phrase from people. You're right. And you're right. I need to start saying that to myself.
You don't need to. Just a possibility.
No, but you
could.
You're right. I do need to. It's I'm hard on myself. And I'm doing very great, doing very good, so I need to start believing that.
Right, but like what I hear you describing is the difference between a knowing, right, which is intuitive.
Yeah.
It's super real, and a belief, which is a thought you keep thinking. So you know you're a great person. And so when you have other reflections, you have other people that are sharing that you're a great person, you're like, oh, that feels good. Yeah. But like ultimately it doesn't change who you are. It's just a confirmation that they're seeing you in your pure spirit form.
Gotcha.
Right? And so the mind is mechanical, and it's all about protection.
Yeah.
And so we drop back into like the amygdala, the lizard brain, right? It's fight, flight, or freeze. And so if that's the function of the mind, you don't actually need to tell your mind to do anything. You can just thank it for doing what it does.
You're right. Kind of just being. If that makes if that's what you're saying, just kind of not thinking so hard and just kind of walking in it and just kind of just that belief. You're right, that belief, because there is a difference than knowing something and actually believing it. Like
when you believe it, it's in your actions.
Yeah.
Right? When you know it, it's felt. It's intuitive, but you might not take the action. Right? You feel inspired to create this vision, to create this universe, to tell stories of different potential realities that could have existed, but we're living in one. So what says that also doesn't exist? If it's existing inside of you and you can actually draw it out, you can bring it into creative form. Others can tap in, so that does exist in parallel.
I like that. Just gotta start just believing. I like that a lot. Knowing as opposed to believing. And sometimes I just don't believe when people say, "Oh, you're a good person." I'm like, really? Like.
But think about this: when somebody says, "Believe me," do you want to believe them?
Sometimes.
I don't.
It takes.
If somebody says, "Hey, trust me," doesn't that tell you the exact... Wait, so was I not supposed to trust the rest? Was I not supposed to believe the rest?
Supposed to trust you until you said something? Okay,
Yeah, trust me, believe me. Why do you have to say that? It's... Okay, so if there's a conviction... if there's a conviction internally, it says, okay, I must share this. Okay, cool. But we all go through our experience, and literally the job of our brain, in my opinion, is to compartmentalize, to box. It's binary, right? It's digital to our conversation earlier, right, with William. And the heart, the soul, the spirit is the infinite oneness where we're all connected. It's analog, it's waveform, right? It's vibration. And so the mind needs to process, just like a computer, whatever code we write to it. And so a belief, if your belief right now says, hey, it's cold out, my belief says, oh, it's warm. Are you wrong? Am I right?
We're both on the same, it's different for each of us.
Exactly. It's just the interpretation. It's just your experience.
Yeah, you're right. It is just, I like that. Just the experience.
You brought the Snoop tree.
Hey, so you know where this came from, right? Because I didn't know where to find this, but this is clearly the lady of the house said that y'all need some water. I was like, this don't look like water, ma'am.
I looked over and I thought it was Cat Williams. Doesn't that look like Cat?
I can see that. I can see that, but it's Snoop.
And I was like, that's Snoop.
Oh, yeah. You know Cat ain't got no brand like that.
Well, but he's always rocking purple.
Yeah, true. True indeed. Nah,
and
that's
so it's the indigo.
Indigo, yeah.
But of course, the D-O double G.
Double. That's crazy. So whoever needs this most, this is from your wife. So,
thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Go
you
for
need
it, buddy.
that most? Okay.
Yeah.
Here you
go. You want to do the honors?
Man, I'm scared.
Oh, you're good.
Man, I got like a whole life to live after this. Hold on.
Wait. You're not living right now?
You know what?
I'm gonna
stop. You know what I'm going to enjoy the most about this relationship that you and I are forming is that I am truly a man of words. And not in the sense of just like having flowery words that are to be spoken, but I do believe in the power of words, you know what I'm saying? And so I jest less with words with which I don't want to create things from, but I still jest with words that are meaningless to me. You, even in this small moment in time, have continually held me accountable with my words. And so it was like, man, I can't even fucking joke around like that no more. I gotta like keep it, And I mean that with like, sincere appreciation, because I speak to my wife and my kids all the time about the power of their words, and she agrees. But so, like, even in jest, I appreciate you holding me accountable in my words. So, bro,
dude, thank you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Appreciate it. Likewise, for sure. We were just discussing this whole concept of believing versus knowing.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
No, you didn't.
Corion, you want it?
Please do.
Like,
Please
basically,
do. Oh my
I
God.
know people.
Oh, this is so divine.
I know people think that I'm a good person, but sometimes I don't believe in myself, and that's where it comes. Because I don't believe it, I'm sometimes still making decisions of someone who thinks they're not a good person, but making decisions of someone who's actually believes they are a good person. Just it does change it. And seeing that is. I like that a lot. Just, I can't really explain it right now, but like there is something like people like atheists and people that are atheists and stuff like that, or as opposed to people that believe in a supernatural existence. They
Indigo.
Thank
you, Snoop.
Yes, to Snoop, brother.
To Snoop.
Our benefactor.
To Snoop Lion.
He wasn't Snoop Lion for a second. I was in Vegas. We do a Vegas trip every year. My uncles and I for a week, and my dad started decades ago. He passed away since, but I remember the first time I saw Snoop Lion, I was like, Snoop is like coming to a new sense of self. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't want to be Snoop Dogg no more. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to expand, but the world wasn't ready for it, and so he retracted back into Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. You know what though? Snoop never changed. He just showed us another facet of the multifaceted crystal of creation that each of us are.
Yes.
Real shit.
Because
no doubt.
I remember we were learning about a trivia about Snoop Dogg at work and stuff like that. He was convicted of murder, and I'm like, wait. Hold
on. That was the line.
Yeah,
right. And so that's the most important
same,
essence. Like, so that's what you define his life by.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's not who Snoop Dogg only is. Like, like it's just interesting how even someone like Snoop could be seen as just kind of a face of positivity and just kind of just chill. Like, people don't think of the convicted murder and stuff like that accusation from back in the day.
Why is that?
Because I don't know. Like, I think it's because Snoop Dogg had the opportunity to show people that other side of who he was and stuff. Like, being able to make music and stuff, they got to see the other sides of who he was, like that personality. They got to see the Snoop Lion. They got to see, like, even now, people are seeing the Snoop Dogg who is the family man and is taking pictures and videos with his grandchildren and stuff like that. And
special needs kids, even. I mean, he does things with special needs kids, all kinds of shit.
And like, I actually follow somebody named D-Lo, who's he's a dwarf. He's a little person and stuff like that, but he boxes. And I literally got exposed to him from Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg was cracking jokes and stuff on him at first. But then recently, Snoop Dogg actually flew him out to L.A. to be like, yo, dude, like, what's up? Like, I was getting clout off of you by making fun of you. Now I want to return the favor of showing you what it's like to be, like...
That is consciousness elevation.
That is awesome to me. Like, I don't think a lot of...
Shit. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, hold on. My apologies.
Sipping on
way back. Oh, my fault, man. Man, shit. Damn, the drunk toast.
That's good.
Shit is actually pretty good.
But that's cool to me. That's just cool to me. Like, he literally was...
But there's a reason behind this, and it's really simple. Like, really simple. What do you think it is, Kev?
I feel like there's a resonance with self. Like, why you ultimately come back to that is like there's a rejection of self and there's a resonance with self. And so, I mean, now clearly my response is not simple, but I feel like only what you relate to do you come back around to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So on some level, it was the rejection that he could relate to. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not the dwarfism, obviously, but your rejection. And at some point, when you feel strong enough within yourself to face the demons of the things that fucking hinder you, can you come back and actually create power from that? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that was an opportunity to create power from that situation. Right? That's what I see.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, you guys are both right in that sense. I think it's just that he just creates.
Yeah.
And so we're not stuck on an old vibration of murder was the case that they gave me.
Straight up.
Right? Yeah. But that was his jump off point. And he's like, this is, you know, he puts down more hits than Mafioso Mick. I mean,
that's real
Snoop,
shit.
Dogfather was actually my favorite album of his. And, I mean, that was hated on by so many different people. But
that was when he was right in with Death Row, right?
Oh, yeah. But he took you through this whole journey, this like narrative arc that was so crazy. And he was speaking both through his own lens and through the lens of other people around him. And so that's what comes back to me is, you know, if you just put out art once, right, which heart is art to me.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
And so when we just listen to the pulse, like literally, you know how radar works?
I believe I do.
You
but
send
you know
the
what?
pulse
When
out
people,
and it comes back.
yeah,
right?
when people ask me questions about like shit, I ain't gonna never really give you 100% because I'm like, man, I don't know. I thought I knew, but you have to tell me.
Go ahead, but like, Corion,
It's like,
Go ahead, Corion.
like it's sort of like a bat. Like you send out a sound and the sound kind of comes back to you at the same or a higher frequency, right? Is that's what radar
so
is?
each pulse has a signature frequency. And so when a radar, so I know about this because I'm obsessed with Tesla and Elon. And so the way that forward-facing radar works and why it's such a game change versus just passive vision is because you bounce a signal that goes under the vehicle in front, and it can then detect an object, whether it's stationary or moving, in front of that, because each pulse has its own signature. And so think about that as it relates to our heart. Our heart is our radar. We have our own pulse. We have our own signature frequency that's being put out. And it's either being met with resonance, right?
Dissonance.
Yes, exactly. You're on the same wavelength, which is exactly what empathy is to me. It's just saying, hey, this is the wavelength you're on. So if you're going through shit, all right, I'm going to meet you there. We're not staying there. But otherwise,
bring you forward.
Exactly.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's good shit.
That's great.
You know, consciously or unconsciously is dope. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, seriously. Because I mean, how many of us do shit unconsciously, not understanding the whys and wherefores? Because I'm sure if you ask Snoop that, he ain't gonna say that. You know what I'm saying?
But on the same token, how many albums has he put out? Like Too Short. I mean, he said album number 10, it's done. Yeah. Right? And yet he's on album number what? 19,
he's still right.
20?
Exactly. Album's 20 years. Yeah, and he's still rocking around with that fucking black Corvette.
But well, okay, there you go. But the whole idea is that art is a continuation. Art is never a static thing, right? And so if the goal is actually to resonate with our own signature frequency, to go back to the code switching, right? And so it's actually, okay, well, your pulse might go out and you're like, damn, I'm feeling rejected, like all over the place. I'm feeling rejected by different people in different environments for different reasons. Okay, well, what is it that I feel acceptance around? What do I feel connection to? What bridge can I form with this person so that instead of them talking shit about you being articulate and having a whole swath of words to choose from? I mean, the average person uses, it's in the hundreds of words. There's over 500,000 words in the English language. Wow. Why would we not use this plethora? It's mental laziness to not want to, because the mind wants to consolidate and simplify exactly. And so that's where archetypes come in, and that's where it's like, oh, well, you just spoke to me in this way, so I can put you in this box. It's mental laziness.
That's good.
But then
versus heart. The heart has infinite energy. The mind does not.
Because like a lot of the people they would make fun of are the same people that they would listen to, the rappers and stuff like that. Like
because it resonates with them.
Exactly.
That's what's crazy.
And so like that's exactly why the people that at public school, people that I sat at lunch with, they knew they saw past the big words and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They saw that I was just a goofy kid who liked watching anime and just,
that's so powerful.
Just a black
Or what
kid.
if they saw into the fact that you have unique interests
Exactly,
in stuff.
and they did. They were like that. They're like, probably trash me and stuff like that when we talk about Naruto, but they didn't think less of me because of it. Like,
how would you like if I could get you over to the creation lab for Dragon Ball Z? Like, I know this. I don't personally know him. I've met him and I know him by way of a friend. The CEO of I think it's called Funimation.
Oh yeah.
And they actually run the Dragon Ball
Beautiful
Z.
name, Funimation.
Yeah,
That's
Funimation.
awesome.
Exactly.
That
so
would be
it's
amazing.
dope. Yeah, I mean, like when I'm talking about studios and like drawings and like
And just talking
recording
to all those
booths and like
people,
what they do to create the anime product, man, it's so freaking dope, man.
That would be
so
fantastic.
Okay. I'll see what I can do, man. I would love to
absolutely.
connect you to that. I think you'd enjoy that.
Dragon Ball. My dad actually passed away when I was 11.
Okay.
And he got me into Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. And so that's, even at 26 years old, like, it's such
That's
a
deep.
big part of why I do what I do. Like, the martial arts and stuff like that I do, the fitness and stuff that I do.
What martial arts do you?
I do boxing and stuff right now.
Awesome.
I'm not in an actual gym until COVID kind of slows down, but like I want to really get into beating the shit out of people.
I got a good gym
Like,
if you want to check it out. I got a good gym called Mola Martial Arts, MMA.
Yeah.
They do all kinds of stuff. My kids go to they do jiu-jitsu with them. They have
Do you roll?
Huh?
You roll?
I don't fuck around. No,
Why not?
I know, but not yet because I'm old as fuck. I need to get my shit back together.
Don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah, you're right. So I need to get into it. Let me get trained up. It sounds like you on that. Like you.
No. I've gone once, but
Okay.
my really good buddy Elston, he's just obsessed, and now he's a trainer. And he taught me how to box.
Now,
so I actually have some gloves.
That's what
which is
I'm.
I love boxing.
just
I boxed in college and I boxed a little bit in the military. So the boxing I resonate with, but the MMA piece or like whatever the grappling I don't really do as much. But
right.
But there's a great point being MMA, Mola MMA in Grapevine.
Yeah.
They got one in Dallas. So if you like 2 locations when you're ready.
Let's go.
Let's do it. And
Dallas,
now if you get on it, I'll get on it.
do stuff now.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Man, for real, bro. Hey, so Promise told me that. So she told me, she's like, okay, yeah, all right, I'm all right. I'm gonna let you have Kevin this time, but like I'm going on one time with him. So, I told her, I said, I love your husband, man. Like I feel like we're a couple right now. Like we're together, man.
And
like in a real way, for sure,
What's the
bro.
place called?
Thank you.
Molar MMA, Mohler MMA.
Mohler.
Yeah, check them out. Great.
Okay.
Is it a Gracie gym?
Yeah, it's great gym, man.
There's one in
Dude.
Grapevine and in Dallas.
Yeah, and I swear by him. I've had, you got the Alex Martins. So one of my clients, his kids do it, and so he suggested, well, my kids were young, and so I was like, hey, let's do that because I want them to be able to. I want them to be able to confront life, like, and let it be natural. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's where we have challenges as humans. It's not being able to confront life. You know what I'm saying? And so that's really the big
confront it's already confronted. It's just
right.
accepted.
Exactly. Accepting conversation. Right. Exactly. So it's like, how do you handle the confrontation that's called life? And what are you gonna do?
Just in general, I think it's bad. Like, nah, bro. I'm just trying to get to an understanding. I'm trying to get past nitty gritty shit so we can get through the uplifting parts.
Yes.
So that we can just come together and just chill out instead of being very, like
uncomfortable.
Right now, I'm thinking in my head like I don't like you, kind of, because we're not saying anything. Because whenever we do say something, you think it's always a problem. It's not a problem, bro. I'm just trying to get to.
But we know why this happens, right? You know the 4 agreements.
That's good.
The Toltec principles. So never take anything personally. Right? That's one of them.
Ego.
Always, always assume good intent. And so if we just do those 2 principles, assume that what somebody's sharing is actually of good intent. What are the odds?
Good, right.
Oh my goodness, they actually have a good reason.
Right, not a non-positive
response.
Right,
Yeah.
that's good.
And then it's not about me, no matter what it is. Now, it's the hardest thing I've experienced emotionally to do this process.
Yeah, that's good.
But it's that simple.
I agree. And then so you talk about the 4 agreements. So the one that I enjoy the most is basically keep integrity with your word.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like, and so I feel like that is one of the most powerful threads for us as humans, because not a lot of times when you hear that, you think about integrity with your word as it relates to others. But I think the more powerful aspect of that is the integrity of your word as it relates to yourself.
Amen.
Because most of the times while we're living this life and we extract ourselves, we strip ourselves of our power, because we have the forces that we don't see that are conspiring to get us what we want. We never align our words with our deeds, so we don't have integrity in our own lives. And so now you're operating from a point of disintegration within yourself. And so now
which goes back to the code.
You don't have right. You don't
inconsistent code.
There's no right. So there's no coherence. And so now I feel like our words, when you operate from that vein, your words have less power. And so because whatever is being purposed to help you accomplish what you want, when you say, man, oh man, that was a dope performance. Was it Corion?
Corion.
Mm-hmm. Dope performance, Corion. You killed it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so I brought life, but you told me I killed it.
But see, this is Guru. He talks about that, right?
Yeah. Oh,
like,
wow.
Instead of preaching death in my songs, I breathe life.
Man, you took away. I haven't gone back and examined the hip hop aspects of this. Dude. That's dope. But I mean, so to that point, you know,
Guru is a spirit. It's a spiritual teacher, right?
That name.
It's not to say he's above. It's just that he resonates with his signature frequency.
If I would hear the name Guru and I would hear him start rapping about like death and stuff, like it would be.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't resonate. The contrast and stuff does not make sense. Yeah. It would be like.
And that song is called Discipline, by the way, featuring Total. It's amazing.
That's dope. I'll pull that
full clip.
That sounds dope.
Yeah, but like, isn't it interesting that, I mean, I hear a mix of I statements and we statements and you statements and all this stuff, but what we're discussing, I believe, is human dynamics.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
At its core.
Absolutely.
And, you know, what it is that drives our decisions, it drives our actions. And it's something that we touched on a little bit ago, but the idea of, you know, if a belief is a thought we keep thinking, right? Then knowing is actually intuitive. Knowing's the above. Absolutely. And so when those are in congruence, right?
You create.
Yes.
Right. You have more power than you can ever freaking imagine. And that's
limitless.
That's the thing. And so the action of words and deeds. And so I say, have integrity with yourself. And I speak to my students and I speak to non-students about this. It's like, you have to, first of all, have integrity with yourself. Before you can ask anybody else to have integrity with you, you have to have integrity with yourself. Because charity starts at home.
That's what I'm working on right now. Is being confident in knowing. I kind of suffer from anxiety.
We all
make a decision and stuff like that, and then I'll think of different scenarios and stuff like that for that decision I've made. So what I'm working on is being confident in the decisions that I make.
Absolutely.
Knowing, like, hey, it's going to be a little scarier, but the scenarios that you come up with your head are all fiction. Use that more to something positive.
Beneficial.
And more beneficial and something that, use it for your work, like for your artistry and stuff like that, instead of letting that be what controls you, the what if, the imagination. Because the appearance of something is not actually how it is.
It's an apparition.
And that's
why it's called an apparition.
That's what my mom's.
What is apparition?
An apparition is like a hologram. It's like an illusion. It's like a ghost.
Like in the desert.
So the apparition, you see something, but it's just your perception of the thoughts that are going through your head about whatever you're projecting your image idea on.
Like,
so it's like, but most times they say it's like a ghost. So because ghosts haven't been confirmed to be real. So.
Which I think ghosts are just.
Hey,
Korean photography.
It's
just another indication.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's my thing, is just the comp.
Have you heard of the 4 C's framework? Dan Sullivan? Oh my goodness. So everyone wants to land on confidence. We all want to be confident. But that's not actually how it works. Right? First, we have to make a commitment. And then guess what? In order to do this new commitment, because it's a new thing, otherwise it's just already done.
You gotta raise up your competence.
You have to go through courage. You have to go through the dip commitment to courage. You go through the dip of, oh my goodness.
Failure.
So the difference between fear and courage is what?
Commitment.
Just going through.
Commitment to an outcome.
Totally. And so the way Dan puts it, I love it. He says, fear is peeing your pants, and courage is doing what you've got to do with wet pants.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
so
good.
we go from, all right, we're going to
good.
make a commitment. Now it takes courage. I got to pee my pants to go through, which is the anxiety that we all feel every single time we do this, every single time. And then it gives you a new capability, which leads to confidence.
Because that's exactly how you learn.
That's powerful.
Like
wow.
work,
Wow.
It's powerful. Like you can't, like anxiety is not a bad thing. We all have, I have social anxiety. When I drive places, like even with people I've known forever, I would actually be like, do I know what's going on in their life? What's actually relevant? What's resonating with them right now? And I would second guess myself, you know, am I gonna, you know, whatever, and it's the code switching that you're describing. It's like, why would I be doing that? Well, the answer is I'm in my brain, the small physical mind, as opposed to just being in my heart, being empathetic, showing up with love, appreciation, gratitude, joy, curiosity, interest.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was what I wanted to come back to and ask a question of, when you speak to the heart versus the mind, it seems counterintuitive from this, and so I want to ask you, I believe that so many people operate from the vein of so-called emotion, and I don't feel as if, or it seems to me as if it does not serve them to the best of their life's, you know, ability. And so I always go back to the thoughts, because I believe that the thoughts create the questions that frame your world. You know, so I always say,
amen.
I'm saying questions frame your focus, and your focus frames your world. That's one of my phrases. So ask better questions, right?
Yes.
And so, if people intellectually are, or people are avoiding or completely dismissing the intellect or the logic of their experience, like, how do you get to the heart being trustworthy?
That camera's done.
Okay. How do you get to the heart being trustworthy?
The other one's still rolling. We're
okay,
now
cool.
ready.
All right, cool. So how you get to the heart being trustworthy, though? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like emotions evoke from thought. You know what I'm saying? Because you perceive a thing first, and then you perceive whether it's something that is something to which you want to move towards or move away from, right? So your emotion, the
towards values,
the
way values.
True, right, exactly. So what you want to magnify or you want to reduce, right? And so
exactly.
It starts with your thoughts first, and then your emotions. But if people are, and so I think the trick of hearing you say you got to go to the heart, it tricks people into believing that they've been using the wrong tool. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, you got to be mindful. Like, I'm like truly wanting to get your input about what is the more reliable approach. Like, what's the reliable approach to? And I know, and let me say this, because I don't know anything, but I want to say that I understand if what I'm asking you is asking, what it comes off as if I'm asking for a definitive solution. But what I'm really asking you is, for people who are not in this room, in this beautiful man cave, in this beautiful earthly, heavenly experience, right, this beautiful lab of creation that we're curating for people's betterment.
Right.
But there are people out there suffering, and so what does the man who does not have access to the lab tell the person that's suffering and say, okay, you're not ready for all the steps, maybe not right now, but step one is this.
Are you saying for themselves or
for themselves? Because I get that. So because my perception is that people are very emotionally involved in their circumstance right now. You know what I'm saying? People are very emotionally involved, and rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? People are emotionally involved in their circumstance. Now, you can have, that emotional involvement is greater or less depending on your economics. So let's keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? If you're economically more enfranchised than another person, then your circumstances seem different. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I always say in business, money covers a multitude of sins. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have a business that is creating cash flow and creating money, you can be a fucked up business and make a whole lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have to pay attention.
Of course.
But when you're running a lean operation, you have to pay attention to every penny that goes out the door. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that's a more mindful operation and actually probably a better run operation than maybe a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And so when you talk about that, because I have something that I really put forth. I've done a lot of volunteerism and I work with a lot of young people. And I always talk about what I call You Incorporated. And I say You Incorporated is the most important company you'll ever control. I don't even use ownership.
I
say,
love
you know
that.
what I'm saying? Because now it's about you have to operate in that vein of what you want to project, you know what I'm saying, and what you want to produce and how you want to be perceived. And so I go into classrooms and I talk to kids. And I even asked a young lady, I remember asking a young lady at Zoom Walk, I was like, so if people ask you like about yourself, what would they say? And she was like, oh, they would say I was a good person, I was cool, you know, boom, I was sociable, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. And so I pointed to another young lady and I was like, so if I asked you about her, what would you say? And she said, I feel like she's mean, she's this and that and the other. And the girl was completely shocked. Like no bullshit, this really happened. And she was like, no way. And I was like, I said, so.
You're talking to the person behind me.
Right, right. And so what I was saying was, it's like, you have to understand that your perception of yourself is the least relevant perception. Now, it's important, but you have to understand, your perception of yourself has to be crafted from a place other than you.
Right.
Wow.
You know? Right.
Humility.
Yeah, exactly. So humility, right, to life circumstance. So it's like, if your idea of yourself and the idea of you, like, from a realistic standpoint, now if she gave something that was off the wall, of course, that's different. But she gave my perception was that the young lady gave a very real perspective of what she saw in this person. She's like, you ain't that chick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think you that chick, but you ain't that chick. You know what I'm saying? So if you operating off the belief that you are this chick, you wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's like you got to operate always understanding what you want to affect, right? What you want to produce, and how you want to operate, how you're going to do that. And so that becomes consistency, that becomes habits, that becomes money habits, that becomes all that. So and so I feel that way because corporations don't generally give themselves the benefit of humanity, for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? And so corporations always operate for the maximization of shareholder value, right? So if you're maximizing your shareholder value and You Incorporated is the most important company you ever control, the best way to maximize value of self is to really pour into yourself and do everything that you can do to make that a stronger entity, right? And the world benefits from that. You know what I'm saying? And we're seeing that now where corporations and CEOs are coming out to speak to humanity as opposed to just profit, because you understand that you can't operate in that vein of just oneness. You can't operate in this one-dimensional vein and say that you're serving the world. Yeah. You can't operate in the vein of creating more profits for you and yours and say that you really give a shit about other people. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So You Incorporate is about operate in the fullness of your humanity. Operate in the fullness of who you are. Rectifying who you are. Establishing who you want to become. Look at your past experiences. Create values and principles from those past experiences, because those are the things that generally shape how you approach the world. And then create a mission statement that's built on the things that you give a fuck about, and then go do it. Yeah. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And then evolve the process along the way, but have a process that keeps you on that path. Once you get on that path and it's creating what you want for you, don't fucking stop. Do more of that shit and then evaluate the process to get better. That's it, man. That's what we have to get out to the fucking world, to understand that you are intrinsically valuable no matter what the fuck your life is saying right now. If you're meeting me at a stop sign or if you're meeting me at a fucking boardroom, you have value. You have to but I need you to tap into it so that the world can benefit. The purpose
Will you read that out loud?
The purpose of my life is to ignite even more passion inside myself and others. That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
That's it.
Mission accomplished.
That's
brother.
the whole point. And so everything that I do becomes an extension of that. It's exactly what you're describing, right? But I know that my goal is actually to unlock others.
That's awesome.
And so if I focus on unlocking others, guess what? I feel great. There's no question. But if my focus was how do I ignite my own passion?
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
That's where
it stops at you. Like, you got to make sure that you spread that to everybody else.
Amen.
I think to continue on what you were saying, like,
thank you, brother.
Yeah,
you gotta have
on the top
you gotta
left
have
up
a
there.
balance.
I updated it.
I got.
What were you here?
I got you.
I just think you gotta have a balance between the thinking logically, thinking with the heart, and then the third part is thinking with your gut.
Yeah.
Sometimes
There's neurons in all three.
Exactly. And like they're all three, I feel like connected. Like I feel like your gut is like the first part where it's like, okay, maybe I should kind of just jump into this. But then you start thinking too logically about it, that can keep you back.
Absolutely.
You're thinking too emotionally about it and stuff like that. And that can either push you forward, but you got to have that balance and stuff. And that's where your gut comes in, where you're just kind of like, just go into it. Like, if you throw up, you throw up. If you shit, you shit. Like, it's like,
just be.
That release is already it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Regardless of if you make that conscious decision and stuff, or just kind of let it go with the flow. You gotta have that. I think it's important to have that balance of having all three in tune and stuff. And
that's powerful. That's powerful.
Like a lot of the characters and stuff in my story are able to passively make decisions, but also impassively make decisions as well. Like they're able to think
on a very active level.
Exactly. They're able to think about how it'll affect everybody else, but then they're also able to think like, I can't spend too much time making this choice or it's going to affect everybody else.
That's
Sometimes
good.
you just got to make that decision.
The non-choice will still have an outcome.
Exactly.
The non-choice is still a choice.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's right. It's right.
It's
Bottom
still,
line.
Right.
Shit.
Yes,
Well
it's
said.
yes or no.
Well
Making no is still a non-choice, basically. Like it, or even ignoring it. Like I've noticed with my current job and stuff, the more I ignore that problem, the worse it's going to get.
Absolutely.
So it's better to do it and do it wrong than to not do it at all. That's the way I see it.
Somebody posted something on Instagram the other day, and they were like, 4 words would you tell your younger self? And I've been, man, I wrestle with that. And so I wrestle with the styling of it, but not the efficacy or the real substance of it.
Really?
Yeah. And so it was like, multiple versions of the same thing. It was like, always do it now. Just do it now. Get it done now. Like, it was always about now. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, you know what? If I could ever give myself a gift, because I was a procrastinator, because I was pretty smart, so it's like you kind of give yourself room.
Perfection.
Yeah, and being a Virgo, so it's like I got a lot of reasons not to fucking do what I need to do.
Right.
And, I work better under pressure, so I'll do my whole shit 12 hours before. Oh, man, you had time. If you had created that, and you put it in the freezer, and then you came and brought it out of the freezer, and you worked on it, you would have had you would have had something that actually could have impacted people more positive, on a greater level than you did.
And then so much more free time for yourself. Just,
or
not stress out.
Some personalities, that's the case. But I'm with you. You know the Pareto principle, the 80-20?
Yeah. Sure.
And so if you think about it, you get 80% of the work done in the last 20% of the time. 80% of the results get delivered by 20% of your customers. Right? Yeah. 20% of your team delivers 80% of the results.
It's a leverage principle.
Yeah, exactly. So if you actually take it to the next degree, it's 4% gets you 64% of your results.
Please
right?
speak to that.
So if 20% gives you the other 4/5, then you do the same thing, and 4% gives you 64% of your results. And so this idea that procrastination is wrong, Dan Sullivan and Dean Jackson actually have a podcast called The Joy of Procrastination. And it's exactly to this point, because procrastination does not mean something about your identity. It actually means that there's not alignment with that thing for you right now. Wow. And so if you listen to it and you find somebody else, the who, not how, right? Somebody else that has the activation energy, they're a quick start towards that thing that you're delaying on. Now all of a sudden you have unique ability teamwork. That's how you can expand your teams and how you can scale past anything.
That's kind of
but it's removing the ego entirely. Like that's the whole thing, because ego, edging God out, right? However you want to frame it. Like there's so many different.
That is awesome. No. Let me tell you. No. Go ahead. Please say your point. Please say your point.
In my current job and stuff like that, I've noticed I procrastinate. But like I kind of
don't procrastinate on anything you want to do.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
I don't do it until the last 30 to an hour and a half and stuff until work is finished, and then I'm still at the point where they're like, you've only gotten one really bad error on the things you've done, so it's like a thing of, am I procrastinating or am I just busy with all the other shit that I have to do? Like that's the type of thing where it is. I'm not actually just putting it off to the side.
But that feeds into what he does for a living, right? Which is freeing somebody from somebody else putting the plate.
Yeah.
Right? Entrepreneurially, we get to create our own plate. Now, that can be terrifying.
And that's
terrifying, right? Especially in the beginning when it's like, hold on, why did I just sign up for 20 hats? Like, I have to wear the hat of bookkeeper. I have to wear the hat of marketing. I have to wear the hat of sales. I have to wear operations. I have to wear fulfillment. I have to wear procurement.
Exactly.
I have to
all the technical aspects of that being.
Totally. Front stage, backstage. Like, how do I develop teamwork? What is management? Like, all these different elements. And so, with every blessing, there's its equal and opposite curse.
Absolutely.
Right? With every curse, there's an equal and opposite blessing. Yeah. These are the Hermetic principles.
No, I'm with it. I always call every challenge is an opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Yeah, that's what's up.
And there is no opportunity without challenge.
That's real shit.
We need all of it.
Baby.
What's up, Roscoe?
Welcome, man.
Welcome
Roscoe
to the
tried to get me
podcast.
earlier, man. Roscoe tried to get me, man. You tried to get me with that little meat, man, little smokies, bro. I'm glad your dad told me, nah, man.
That's
He don't eat out of people's hands, man.
Roscoe was being sent over here because we have to go.
We do.
Oh,
we do,
no.
my love. We do have.
Oh,
We
no.
do have
Yes,
to.
my God.
we are
All
so
right, an hour and 20 minutes in,
Right.
we've got it.
That's
So, okay, I'll just share
We
this
had a
with you
great
guys.
podcast.
Is there
That was
anything
crazy.
that we would like to say in conclusion here?
I think that in conclusion is the first thing that we want to take away is instead of going outward more, go inward more. You know what I'm saying? Take more time to learn inwardly so that you can have a principle, a value, a premise upon which to interact with the world. Because without that, you're like a feather in the wind. So go inward more first.
Amen.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'd say trust your gut more. It's okay to jump off on a thought emotionally and think, wow, I'm really passionate about this and stuff. I want to act on it. But it's also okay to think a little bit logically about something and think, how will this affect other aspects of my life? Or how will I get to this decision? But it's also okay to just kind of trust in the process and trust your gut and just be like, fuck it, let's just do it right now.
That's what's up.
And as someone who's not necessarily trusting my gut, I would say trust your gut, because that's going to be the make or break decision for the things that you do. I feel like me trusting my gut in the next 60 days is going to be very beneficial for me. Me trusting my gut is going to be like, wow, why didn't I do all this bullshit 2 years ago? So trust your gut is my thing. It's just, don't get too wrapped up on what your head is saying, and don't jump too soon on what your heart is saying.
That's good.
Gotta have that balance and
That's
stuff.
good.
That's my thing.
Will you say guru of us all?
It's just, you are enough. You're equipped with everything that you ever need. It's all within you. You have a signature frequency that's unique. No one else has your signature frequency. Do not focus on being somebody else. Listen. right? Go inward. That's the theme here, is go inward.
Yeah.
The more that you know you, the more you actually trust your gut, which has neurons.
Yeah.
The more that, life becomes fun and it's lighthearted, right? And when things are lighthearted, don't we want to keep doing them? We want to play more. We want to enjoy more.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I would just say, again, the theme is completely incongruent here. Just trust yourself.
Yeah.
Go within and listen. And so when your heart puts out that frequency and you're feeling judgment come back, recognize that that person has good intent out there and that it's not about me here. Mm-hmm. So I can actually watch that space and say, this is a great movie. It doesn't have to be about me, We're all doing our best. We're all, enjoying life to the fullest, to whatever that looks like. So.
I should have brought my camera up. I'm sorry I didn't record that.
No
it's all recorded
baby. It's
right
recorded.
here.
He got it on the
We've
thing,
got the whole thing.
Okay, you on it,
That's
baby.
right.
Okay, you got to go.